I hope that's true.
And welcome to episode 509 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I am here with.
Swaff.
And we are here joined by a very special guest and Cinematary patron, Sam Shapiro. Sam, thank you so much for coming on here. And you're going to make us watch 1988's The Vanishing.
I hope I don't have to force you to watch it.
I don't know about you guys. I have already watched it.
Same.
In preparation for the
We're going to watch it over the course of the podcast.
Question
a
is,
very long one.
the question is, have you seen the 1993 Hollywood remake?
I have not. I just got done reading a little bit about it. And
I'll say a few words about that.
Well, we're gonna go old school Cinematary. In part one, we have two movies we're gonna talk about, and then we're gonna take a short break, and then we will be back in part two where we will talk about The Vanishing. First up, this is a movie that came out of TIFF. We missed it. I caught it earlier this year. It's been one of my favorite things that I've seen so far this year. I'm finally glad that another person saw it because it's kind of a strange movie to just like talk about on your own. It kind of sounds like you're having an episode. And that is Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. As if it's going to let me. It's going to let me. There we go. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. This is the latest from writer-director Matt Johnson. For those who are like, I've never heard of Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Nirvana, the band, the show is a television series that played on. It was in Canada. The crux of the show is that Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll, who is his partner, they're a band. They're called Nirvana, the band. They want to play a show at the Rivoli, which is a venue in Toronto, but something always gets in the way. They're never able to like make it happen. The show
the main problem is they don't just ask the Rivoli.
No, they never ask the Rivoli. They never ask the Rivoli. They come up with elaborate schemes in order to do it. And so the show includes like, riffs on movies like Indiana Jones and things like that, where the episode starts to encompass these moments of movie history as they try to do that. The movie is very much the same thing. Jay and Matt are trying to get a show at the Rivoli. Their grand plan is they're going to climb to the top of the CN Tower in Toronto. They're going to skydive into the Rogers Center while the Blue Jays are playing a game. And they're going to announce to the crowd that they are Nirvana, the band, and they are playing at the Rivoli later that night. I don't know how else to describe it. I will say that the movie is very much a riff on Back to the Future. It's not a giant spoiler, but that does not work. And so they decide to Back to the Future in order to maybe figure out the best way to get, back to the Rivoli. I've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm a giant fan of it. I think besides Blue Heron, this is my favorite thing that I've seen this year. I've seen it twice already. I have the Blu-ray coming, and I'll probably watch it again. It's one of the more endlessly rewatchable movies I've seen in a while. But Swaff, I want to hear about your experience with Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
I'm with you. I'm a huge fan of this movie. It was ranked very highly for me at the end of the year, and I kind of put off watching it, partially because I didn't know if it would really be my thing. I don't know if it would. I wasn't expecting the brand of comedy to quite work for me. But I also knew that this is a movie that is kind of coming along with a lot of like prior knowledge that certain people might have, because there was originally like a YouTube series, and then they made like an actual TV show that was also like a web thing, and now we have a movie, and I've never seen any of that, right? So I was thinking,
Same.
I don't know if I want to jump into this at the end of the line, right? Maybe I need to go back and watch the show, though apparently it's kind of impossible to find the old show online. I think that people were thinking that Neon might put out like a box set of it or something like that, but I eventually decided that I just wanted kind of like a light breezy comedy to watch, and so I threw it on, and I'm really, really glad that I
the ultimate one.
Yeah, it is so much fun, and also like just kind of mind-blowing in a lot of ways. Like I had no idea what this movie would end up being. Like, I thought this would just be kind of like a hangout movie, something like that. But it's such an elaborate spectacle, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, starting with that first big sequence of them skydiving off the CN Tower in Toronto. Like, I was feeling intense fear, fear of heights, in the way that they shoot that. You really do feel like you're like towering over the city, and there's also kind of this quasi-reality TV feel to it, not unlike what Nathan Fielder sometimes does, where they are shooting out in public, and there are certain interactions that I think are safe to assume are with people who were not expecting themselves to show up in a movie, but they must have had to go get the rights later. But those are some of the best moments in the movie.
I think the one that always comes to mind to me is they're going to get like pliers so that they can cut the rope so they can jump off the CN Tower, and the employee there is telling them that's a bad idea, but he's a libertarian, so they can do what they want.
It's just so funny. Like, the lines are so great. This made me laugh out loud alone in my house on many occasions, including in the very first scene, which is actually just like a clip from the old show.
Yeah.
When you're like seeing them rehearse their set, and Matt, the main guy who's also the director, is like, I think they're going to ask for an encore as soon as the intro's over. That was the first thing that made me just guffaw in my house. But the real curveball that this movie threw me for is that it is a time travel movie, revealed in like the first, 30 minutes or so. I hope that's not a spoiler for anybody. But the way in which this is a time travel movie is so much fun, because they are specifically going back to 2008.
Yeah.
And like the signifiers of 2008 are like Bill Cosby on the cover of a magazine, and like Jared and all the Subway ads, and like they go watch The Hangover, and there's like the F slur being used as like laugh.
There's a very specific clip of The Hangover, and that's like what clicks in his mind to be like, we're not in the.
Yeah. And then he walks out in the street and sees like billboards for The Dark Knight and the most recent Grand Theft Auto game, and like the old iPod like silhouette ads and things like that. And it is just so delightful to see them, attempts to bring 2008 Toronto to life, and the things they highlight about 2008 in the process. But the whole thing just kind of works like this Swiss watch sort of construction. Like, everything that you are presented with is set up for a later payoff, even though it doesn't necessarily seem to be that on first blush. Like, the movie kind of acts like it's dumber than it is for the first good bit of it, but it is really, really intelligently put together, and had me feeling some emotions too. Like, this is a movie about a relationship between two close friends, and it both makes me feel like just how aggravated one friend gets at the other one, and just how like at the end of their rope they are with this friendship, and how they want to essentially, just never see this person again, have like a full-on friendship breakup. And also makes me feel the real tenderness that these two people share with one another, and like how much of like a soul partnership this friendship really is. I think that level of emotionality is not something that I'm used to seeing in kind of a silly comedy like this. So I think that my main takeaway is just like, it's incredibly ambitious. And I think that it succeeds in a lot of different areas. But I don't know, anything else, Zach, that I have not brought up you want to talk about?
No, I co-sign all of that. All of the stunts are by them. There's no, they make a mention of it in the movie, but like they didn't get permits for any of this. Like, this is all like, verite, like they're all just running and gunning. Like, this is it's completely on the fly, which makes it even better.
But surely some of it is faked. Like, do you think they really jumped off the CN Tower?
They actually did, yeah.
They actually did?
They actually did, yeah. I'm very excited to get the Blu-ray for this because I want to watch the special features.
How did they jump off? You mean with parachutes?
Yeah.
They had parachutes on. They have like a coat, and then there's like a pair. It looks like he has like a hunchback. He has like a coat on, and then he it's
one of them just shoves the other one off.
Yeah. It's incredible, and that's kind of that's one of the things that sticks with you is it's just like, man, they're just really doing this. You have they're just like they're really going for this. It's crazy. For me, it was really cool. I don't know, Swaff, if you notice, like there's a number. We've been going to Toronto for TIFF for so long. There's a lot of like parts of town that are like, oh my gosh, I know where that is. Like when they get to 2008, they park in front of this like car that's bursting out of a building that like we walk by every day as we go to the festival. That I was immediately like, oh, I know exactly where they are in the city.
And then the line is, could have been worse, but then nobody laughs until he says it again.
He's like, well, no, he goes, Jay, you missed a really good visual gag right there. It has this, I love the bit that it does where it like has flashbacks, but the flashbacks are distorted from what the actual reality is.
Yeah. Showing these characters seeing themselves in the worst possible light.
Yeah, it's incredible. No, honestly, I could rewatch that a gazillion times. It's a lot of fun. I hope more people seek it out. I think it's neon, so I would say it probably ends up on like Hulu or something for streaming, but also it's like $5 on stream. It's $5 on like Amazon or other places that you would go and stream a movie, and it's well worth your $5. So Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, it's one of the movies of the year. And also it'll be interesting because what's his face? Matt Johnson's making a Anthony Bourdain biopic that's going to be coming out later this summer. So he's staying busy.
Yeah, this is my first Matt Johnson movie, I think, but I just checked out Blackberry from the library, so I'm going to watch that here soon.
That one's a very cool, like companion piece to like The Social Network. It's like Matt Johnson's version. Real quick before
I feel bad that I didn't see that when it played at the IPH.
Yeah, I would have liked to see it in a theater with a crowd.
I mean, did you not do a good enough job of encouraging me to see that?
I didn't. Ryan was with me too. We just were really bad friends and we didn't invite you. So that's our cross to bear.
I didn't even get recommendations to see it. I mean, I don't know how this movie passed right by me. Somehow or another, I thought it was like some kind of mockumentary about guys.
I mean, it kind of is. It kind of is a mockumentary.
A Nirvana legacy. I don't know what I was thinking, but
there's a whole meta thing going on with like the fact that they have cameramen following them around.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, like they have to use cameras from 2008 so they don't look conspicuous.
Yeah.
It played at least 3 or 4 weeks there, so I will see it. I'll stream it immediately.
Yeah. Real quickly, I wanted to note, Sam and I actually last night we caught. The IPH here in Charlotte had a 4K restoration of Jacques Tati's Playtime. We've done an episode of that on the podcast. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I had never seen it, though, in a movie theater. And I got to say, I recommend Playtime. You know, if you have not seen Playtime, you can go see it in a movie theater. It's so, like, the colors of it are so vivid. I mean, a lot of Tati's movies that are in color. You have Monocle. You have this one. I think Traffic is in color as well. Like all of those are so vivid. This one especially, though, I immediately like with Tati as one of my favorites. I immediately just kind of get transported into his world. I love that. He gets compared a lot to like Chaplin. And I love the thing I love about Tati compared to Chaplin is that Tati just kind of appears at one point. Mr. Hulot just appears at one point and then he just disappears at another point. And I love that he just appears and starts wandering around this office space. The office space is always is always so good. You know, them hitting all of the buttons to buzzer the person, and the person walking, you know, all the way down the hallway, and then opening the door to the office right next to him and going, "Hey, wait in here," and then walking all the way back down to the hallway. When they get to the restaurant, just the chaos of the restaurant, the things that make me laugh there is the guy who is just standing outside because he has like the torn and messed up pieces of clothing, and people keep coming and switching clothing, you know, pieces of clothing with him. You have the guy who they break the front door, and he's holding the little gold door handle, and he like continues to like open and close the door in order to get tips. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so glad that they were able to bring this transfer to the big screen. I think Playtime's one of the great movies of all time, and I was so happy to see it on the big screen. I know, Sam, you had seen this for the first time in a while. What was your impression?
Well, I like the fact that you mentioned how Tati's character of Hulu sort of drifts in and out of the action. And that is true. I hadn't thought of that in terms of comparing to Chaplin. Chaplin's films were much more, what's the word, egocentric. I mean, Chaplin is front and center in all of this. Yeah. They begin with him in the opening scene, and they end with him walking off, you know, into the horizon like in Modern Times, or smiling into the camera in City Lights. But this movie, in fact, Hulo's character is out of the film entirely for the last 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, as I recall. I don't think
he just walks off.
You don't even see him during the merry-go-round scene of traffic, or maybe you see a little bit. But when they take the bus back to the airport, he's long gone. You know, yeah, I loved it. I agree with everything you say, and it made all the difference in the world to see it, you know, in a theater setting, with a lot of people who seem to be, if they were seeing Tati for the first time, I got the sense that it took the audience, a while to sort of catch up to the humor of the film. There really weren't many laughs or chuckles or titters in the first half of the film, but by the second half of the film, by the nightclub scene, I think the whole audience was in stitches. And I think that has something to do with the fact that American audiences are not used to that humor. And
it is very singular. I think that there's really nothing like it.
Right. And I think I was also telling Zach earlier that the sound design is brilliant. The way there's dialogue throughout the entire film, but the dialogue is like in murmurs or sort of below the surface. You can hear them as if they're talking under the breath.
At Central Cinema, they chose to leave it all unsubtitled.
I think
they didn't want the dialogue to be distracting from the visuals at all.
I mean, all the American tourists, all the women, you know, who are sort of chattering away. I mean, you can understand what they're saying, but yeah, I thought it was great. I love the way he makes fun of technology and modernization. I mean, that goes back, of course, to Mon Uncle, where he really began tapping into that. So, I've seen all of his films now except for Traffic.
And Traffic's really good.
And
it's fun.
Traffic? He made Traffic after Playtime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just from the title of the movie, I mean, I get the sense. I mean, there's a lot of traffic in Playtime. Does the movie Traffic, is it more focused on the cars and the highway? And
yeah, it's kind of like a road trip movie.
There's a lot of cars breaking down, things happening with cars. It's great.
A lot of people picking their nose while they're driving cars.
Yeah, there's a very good, there's a great sequence when they just go through people picking their nose while driving a car. It's fantastic.
Well, that should show on a remake with Godar's Weekend.
It would make a good double feature weekend, honestly.
Both movies that take place, you know, in cars and traffic jam. You know, another impression I got about Playtime was that the fact that it was such like a super production. You know, these enormous sets were constructed for the film. Right. And literally a cast of hundreds, if not 1,000, are in that film. I mean, just the way he marshals this chaos, you know, into a film, and it's just great stuff.
Yeah. No, if you have not seen Playtime's, probably a solid entry point. You know, Hulo's Holiday or Mon Uncle is good as well. But I think they're all on Criterion Channel. Take a chance on Tati if you haven't before.
I do think that you will have the best experience with Playtime if you watch it after having seen a couple of his movies, because like he is on a very, very unique wavelength,
Oh, I
and he's just
agree.
kind of like building upon it, building upon that style over the course of his filmography.
Well, I think if you're starting with his filmography, I think Mr. Hulo's Holiday was his first film, right?
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can't start him, and he did a film right before that. What's it called? Jour de
Fête.
Yeah, where he plays a mailman, I believe.
That's a good one also. Both of those are pretty good entry points. Is you kind of get Jour de Fête has more of a plot, and so that could help people as well.
All right.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're all gonna take a stop at a gas station and see what happens after this. And we are back with episode 509 of Cinematary. In this part, we will be continuing our Patreon picks series with 1988's The Vanishing. Sam, before I kind of run through a fact sheet on The Vanishing, you picked this movie for us. I'm curious why you wanted Cinematary to watch this movie.
I think it's a classic psychological horror movie. It's one of my favorite films. It's a film that always works well with students whenever I taught it in film studies classes. It's a film that I've shown and introduced to so many people. I've probably seen it. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but I just think it's a great movie to talk about, especially to folks who are seeing it for the first time, or who have just seen it for the first time, because I remember the impact it had on me when I saw it for the first time, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll save that story. That's a good story. It is, like I said, 1988. It's George Sluizer. Is that how you say his name? Sluizer? Sluizer made the film for a staggeringly low budget of around $165,000. Take that, Curry Barker. Because resources were so tight, the production had to be incredibly lean, relying entirely on real everyday locations rather than expensive constructed studio sets. The actress who played Saskia, incredibly, this was her first ever film role. Sluizer spontaneously cast her after seeing her in a student play because her red hair reminded him of his own daughter. Despite having very minimal screen time, her vibrant, tragic performance won her a European Film Award for Best Supporting Actress. And Stanley Kubrick later cast her in a planned Holocaust drama, The Aryan Papers, which he ultimately abandoned. Rex was the actor was a talented Belgian actor, chosen specifically because his French language skills were fluent enough for the role. I like that. He can handle the role. He can handle that. Bernard Pierre Donadieu, who played Lamorne, the killer. He was a prolific French character actor who delivers a legendary bone-chilling performance as the polite sociopathic family man. So Sluizer originally wanted screen icon Jean-Loup Trintignant. We're going back to my French pronunciations, but pivoted to Donadieu after the other actor was unavailable. The clinical chilling coldness felt on screen wasn't just acting. Donadieu reportedly behaved like a dictator on set, sparking massive friction with the director and cast. He constantly made jokes at Ter Steg, the actress who played Saskia, her expense, and initially refused to speak English to her, knowing her French was limited, because he was terrified the rookie actress wouldn't be skilled enough to share a scene with him. The environment grew so toxic that she threatened to quit, and Sluizer actively intervened and forced the actor to back down. The film was adapted from the 1984 Dutch novella The Golden Egg by Tim Krembe. Krembe co-wrote the screenplay along with Sluizer, though they fought so bitterly over the pacing and script drafts that Sluizer eventually locked him completely out of the writing process to finish it himself. To fully contextualize the 1988 version's bleak brilliance, it is vital to note that Sluizer also directed the 1993 American remake starring Jeff Bridges, Kiefer Sutherland, and Sandra Bullock. Under severe studio pressure, he completely changed the iconic, devastating ending to a traditional Hollywood happy ending, a compromise heavily panned by critics. that only proved how crucial the original's uncompromising conclusion truly was. The film heavily borrows Hitchcockian tension, but flips the master's structural formula. Instead of keeping the killer's identity a mysterious secret, The Vanishing introduces us to Lamorne almost immediately. The tension brilliantly shifts from who did it to what exactly did he do and how far will the protagonist go to find out. Stanley Kubrick famously called The Vanishing the most terrifying film he had ever seen, stating it was far more horrifying than his own masterpiece, The Shining. He actually called Sluizer directly to discuss technical editing and pacing, fascinated by how a movie drenched entirely in bright, everyday sunlight could feel so utterly claustrophobic. The film is deeply tied to the philosophical concept of the banality of evil. Lamorne is not a shadowy monster hiding in a dark basement. He is a polite family man, a chemistry teacher, and a loving father. His villainy stems from an everyday, meticulous curiosity and cold scientific experimentation rather than the cartoonish malice or rage.
Who said that? Who said that it's a banality of evil movie? Is that a critic?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I disagree with their interpretation of banality of evil, but that's fine. You can move on.
The Vanishing. Sam, now this was my second time seeing it. So if I know that you had seen it before as well.
Yeah.
But Sam, I think you have the all-time great. This is the first time I saw this movie's story that I feel like you have to share.
Oh, I think my girlfriend at the time almost broke up with me. Or else she had almost a nervous breakdown. So the movie it was made in it was released in Europe in 1988. It wasn't reviewed in the New Yorker. It wasn't released in the U.S. until 1991, 3 years later. So I read the review by Terrence Rafferty in the New Yorker and was aware of the fact that it wasn't playing in Charlotte, where I was living at the time. And the closest place that it was showing was in Chapel Hill. So we drove to Chapel Hill to see it. And
how did it get on your radar initially? How did you know to drive to Chapel Hill to see it?
Well, I guess this was before the internet, right? I must have called. I mean, I knew that Chapel Hill had movie theaters that showed art films. One was called The Varsity. I forget the other one, but there were at least 2 or 3 theaters in Chapel Hill that would show foreign films. I believe on that same weekend or that same day that we saw The Vanishing, we also drove to Durham to the Carolina Theater and saw Cyrano de Bergerac with Gerard Depardieu. So these are movies.
Double feature.
These are movies that didn't play in Charlotte. So, but it wasn't that big a deal having to drive to get there. It's just that now, of course, it probably would show in Charlotte, and it would be instantaneous to be able to stream a movie like that. But 35, 40 years ago was a different story. I remember that when this movie came out on VHS finally. All right, let me get back to the story. So I went with this girl to see it in Chapel Hill, and she was very, very upset by the ending of the film, which I don't know that we're going to be getting into spoiler territory.
We have to.
We will later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she was distraught. She was upset. She was very, very upset. She came weeping into the lobby, just angry at the villain in the movie for getting away with what he got away with. And it took me a while to talk her down off the ledge, and everything was fine. In fact, 7 or 8 months later, that's generally at that time how long you had to wait till a movie came out on VHS. Usually you had to wait about 9 or 10 months for a movie to come out on VHS. But when it did come out on VHS, we had vanishing parties. I would have all my friends over who didn't have any suspicion what the movie was about or how it was going to end.
You just like traumatizing people?
Yeah, I loved it. And this was pre-internet, so you couldn't look up spoilers. You couldn't get on Wikipedia and read what happens in the last 5 minutes. So everybody was just shocked. And I had a couple of these vanishing parties, for friends and relatives. I was just obsessed with this movie. And I also taught it to film. I was teaching film studies at the time at UNCC or UNC Charlotte. I showed the film whenever I could make an argument for showing it, like maybe a syllabus that had thrillers or crime films, or I may have even shown it in a Hitchcock course as an example of like a contemporary Hitchcockian film that had taken a lot of its pointers from Hitchcock. And it always did very well with students too. So I always loved this movie, and I was very interested when George Sluizer made a remake of it about 2 years later. And as Zach was saying, this was an infamous, notorious chapter in the Hollywood history of bad remakes. I mean, this guy. Okay, so we know what makes this film so unique. Everything unique about this movie is basically the twist, and the resolution, the denouement, is something that most audiences are not expecting.
Yeah.
And it just seems diabolically perfect, when you think about it and you think about everything that has led up to that ending. There's really no other way it could have ended or should have ended. And my understanding is that George Sluizer went to Hollywood with the understanding that he would be able to make the movie the way he wanted to, and that it would end with this diabolical quote unquote, non-happy ending. And
quote unquote non-happy ending. It's not happy.
Right. And he was led to believe that he would be able to stick with that ending. And again, I'm not sure if we're getting into spoiler territory here or not, but either way, the movie ends with a happy ending, the Hollywood ending.
Insane. I had to go read.
He's not. I
mean,
he is not buried alive at the end of the movie. His girlfriend digs him out. She figures it out. She saves him. And then again, much like most horror films in the 90s, the Jeff Bridges character, who's the bad guy, has to be put down at least 3 or 4 times, sort of like an indestructible Freddy Krueger. I mean, it dissolves, it craters into the same kind of Hollywood horror film that it was expressly avoiding in the Dutch-French version. The ending, when you're seeing the original foreign version, that ending comes so bracingly and uncompromisingly. And then, but again, I argue that everything in that movie leads up to that ending, and it really couldn't have ended any way differently.
I'm wondering how the English language version plays before the happy ending that's kind of tacked on. Like, if that wasn't there, would it function as a movie?
Well, it's not good because the acting is not very good. Jeff Bridges is directed in a very, very weird way in this movie. He affects a very strange accent that's sort of indecipherable where he's from. He plays it in an uncompromising way. He's very cold and unemotional. In many ways, he's like the Raymond character from the original. And he's also a professor like the Raymond character in the original. But it's just not, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's barely even worth discussing. It's completely disposable. And to give you an example of why it's disposable, it made no money when it came out. It got terrible reviews. Nobody saw it. And anyone who did see it, who had not seen the Dutch version, would have just shrugged because, it attempted nothing unique. But what sets the original version apart is that it's extremely unique. It's difficult for me to compare any other film to the original.
Yeah.
It comes up with just the perfect twist ending. Now, I have read the novel that it's based on, which is called The Golden Egg. And of course, the term, the title, the symbolism of the golden egg, and the title of the novel plays very much into the movie. Because as you recall, when Saskia and Rex are driving through the tunnel in the opening scene of the film, Saskia recounts a dream she had the night before where she was floating in space, and that she came across a golden egg, another, and that she sensed that Rex was in that golden egg, that she would only be reunited with Rex through the golden egg. Now you recall what happens afterward. They run out of gas in the tunnel, and he very callously abandons her in the car to get gas. And when he comes back to his car, she has left the car and she's waiting for him outside of the tunnel. And as he's driving to the end of the tunnel, he sees her at the end of the tunnel, and she's standing in what looks like the form of an egg. It's the shape of an egg. And that's literally, I mean, in a sense, the entire movie, we see it happening right in front of us in the opening tunnel sequence on a metaphorical level. And then it takes the rest of the movie to literally realize that. Let me read you something else that I find really interesting. This is the only thing I'll read to you, but since Zach read something, I'm going to read to you a couple of sentences from that review in the New Yorker that I read in 1991. And I had no knowledge of this film until I read the review. Now, what he does, he compares it to Hitchcock films like The Man Who Knew Too Much, and he also compares it to Polanski's Frantic. He puts it in like a horror film genre, the so-called disappearance while on holiday genre. I don't know if you've ever seen the Polanski film Frantic, but Harrison Ford loses his wife in Paris, and the rest of the movie he's frantically searching for her. And The Man Who Knew Too Much, their little boy is kidnapped while on holiday. But what I think...
It's also La Ventura by Antonioni.
Right.
It's also that.
But what I think, definitely La Ventura, that's a great example. But what I think it really compares to, I haven't seen this written anywhere, and the reason why it works so well in a Hitchcock class, especially juxtaposed against Vertigo, I find it in many ways a remake of Vertigo. Let me just read you another few sentences from this review, and think about, as I'm reading this description of The Vanishing in the very first paragraph of the review, think about what Vertigo's about and what the journey James Stewart takes to resurrect the Kim Novak character, to bring her back to life, essentially. It says, Rex's search for Saskia takes place over several years, and it produces suspense of an unusually melancholy kind. He can't stand not knowing. Let me put this down. He can't stand not knowing what happened to her. His ignorance of her fate is like a dark hole that suddenly opens up at his feet, and as he stares into the void, its emptiness seems to mesmerize him, to freeze him into place. It's as if Rex's life were suspended at the moment of Saskia's vanishing and could not be resumed unless he went back to that point on the highway where the path of their life abruptly forked and took her road instead, whatever the consequences. The logic of Rex's investigation, his obsession, is that he has to follow his lover against all reason down the deadest of dead ends. Both the hero and the plot he's trapped in have the torturous, involuted quality of a complex sentence struggling to resolve itself into meaning, to discover its own form. And at the conclusion, that justifies everything that has led up to it. It shows us with terrifying clarity the true shape of this labyrinthine construction. The Vanishing comes to a full stop with a vengeance. I look upon the fact that, if you think about the ending of Vertigo, James Stewart has tried to resurrect this dead woman against all reason, and it drives him insane. He loses his mind.
Mhm.
And he loses her the second time by forcing her up the tower to try to relive the moment where he lost her the first time. And this time he loses her for real. And he's left at the end of the movie standing in that tower bereft. And now his life really has nowhere to go. Think about the ending in The Vanishing. Rex's life is also in suspended animation. Ever since he lost Saskia, even though he has a new lover who he ignores, he's totally obsessed with the mystery of Saskia, and he can't move forward in his life until he resolves that mystery, no matter how deeply it takes him. And in other words, he's not only like James Stewart in Vertigo, who destroys his life, he destroys any chance he has of happiness by going down that forbidden road. It's almost like Orpheus going back into the underworld after Eurydice. He makes the mistake of looking back, and he loses everything. I find it, there's parallels with mythology in this film.
Yeah,
I talk about Orpheus and Eurydice in the underworld, and think about what happens to Rex at the end of this movie. He is literally in the underworld. He has been buried alive.
No, I think that's what stuck with me. That's what stuck with me the most on the second rewatch, because the first time, you're kind of suspended by what's going to happen. Like what's going to happen to him, what's happened to her, what's this guy done, how has he done it? And the second time, this most recent time when I watched it, like I knew the beats, I knew the plot points, I knew like where it was headed, and I think that's what makes it the second half of the movie becomes even more suspenseful and even more, thrilling and terrifying, because you kind of like, you're constantly just going like, just leave, just go away. They're at that gas station at night, and he gives him the thermos with the coffee, and it's just, he can't, that inability to just relinquish it is really what holds you in on that second viewing.
It really is it becomes like that short story, the lady or the tiger. Do I drink the coffee, or do I not drink the coffee? Will the door reveal Saskia, or will it reveal the tiger? He makes the only decision he can make, because everything in his life has led to that moment. He can't help himself from drinking the coffee. Also, like Vertigo, this occurs to me also, Zach, you mentioned that. The way the film is structured, the second half of the film, you're almost seeing from the point of view of Raymond, how he came up with this diabolical plan. And if you remember in Vertigo, there's also a change of perspective in the second half of the film, where the mystery is revealed halfway through the movie, and we see the rest of the movie through Kim Novak's perspective, the victim. Yes, God, great stuff.
Sam, I'm curious to hear your perspective as somebody who's watched this so many times, because Zach was just talking about how knowing the ending makes it more suspenseful.
How many times have you seen it now?
This is my second time. But for me, I feel like knowing what happens takes a little bit out of it, personally.
I'll say this, that the first time you're seeing the movie, you're just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep up with the plot, which is not that complicated, but truly the way it switches character identification about a third of the way through the movie, and we're seeing it through Rex's point of view. And not only that, what's so brilliant about the point of view of Rex is that we're going back into time. We think when we first see Rex, the killer, we think that he's already kidnapped Saskia, and that he's going to that house.
Wait, no, Rex is the boyfriend.
Rex is the boyfriend.
Yeah, I forget the name of the killer.
Raymond. The first time we see Raymond is driving to his family's country house. And we've already seen him earlier in the film at the gas station, looking at Saskia through, and we see him wrapping his arm.
Yeah.
What's so brilliant about this movie is that when we first see Raymond at the house, we just assume that Saskia has already been kidnapped or murdered, or she's under his possession. And it's not until a few minutes later that we realize we've gone back into time and we're seeing what led up to the kidnapping at the gas station. My answer, this is my way of saying, answering your question. The first time you watch the movie, you're trying to keep up with the juggling of the balls. You're trying to figure out what time frame we're in and what character. But man, it comes together. Even watching it for the first time, once Raymond and Rex come together and they take that drive, everything locks in. You understand what everything has led up to. And the second time you see the movie, although you're already privy to the shock ending, I think what the great part about seeing it a second time and a third time is you can appreciate the structure and the construction of this movie, how well it's been put together. I mean, it really is seamlessly put together for something that's so complicated. I think part of the genius of the film is the way it's constructed, not only acted, but written and performed, and the way it's constructed. It's fiendishly constructed.
Yeah, going back to the process, the kind of time, the backup, in order to see, as he goes through the process of how is he going to abduct a woman, like how is he going to do this? He goes through the different stages of this is how he's going to pour the chloroform. This is how he's going to get into the car. He tries a bunch of different methods where, he says, "Oh, I left something over here. I need you to get in the car. We'll drive over here." You have the one instance when it looks like he's in town. I don't know if it's Paris, but he's in the city and he runs into somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know you. I was your daughter's volleyball coach," and it completely, it takes the killer off, off the path.
In that scene though, he tries to pick her up. I mean, he wants to kill her. She thinks it's just a pickup. She thinks it's a sexual thing. And then she says to him, remember, she says, "Oh, if you're trying to pick up young women, I suggest the gas station on the high." I mean, she's the one who points out to him where to go.
But it was making me think of whenever he was the specific one is when he's about to get he's about to get the woman in the car, and then he muffles it up. He messes it up. He sneezes, and then it completely ruins it. It reminds me a little bit of just the chances, the missed chances. It reminds me of something like No Country for Old Men or Zodiac, where it was just wrong place, wrong time. It was just a complete twist of fate.
Zodiac, I think, is one good point of comparison for this. But I agree with you, Sam. It's a hard movie to compare to anything. It's so unique.
You can see why Stanley Kubrick, I read that what Zach was saying, Kubrick really was blown away. He thought it was the greatest horror film he'd ever seen. And it is a horror film. Let's not mistake ourselves about it. It's a psychological horror film, but it's nothing more horrifying than The Day New Month. We're beyond spoiler territory at this point. I mean, this goes back to Edgar Allan Poe, The Premature Burial, The Telltale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher. I mean, Poe was obsessed with the idea of the premature burial. It happens at the end of The Fall of the House of Usher with Usher's sister Madeline. It happens in The Telltale Heart, of course. Or actually, not The Telltale Heart. Premature burial.
Well, the heart is buried, and he still hears the beating. Yeah,
but just the idea. I mean, it's one of the most horrifying, unthinkable ways to go. And the way he films that last shot with the cigarette lighter running out of oxygen, dissolving into the golden egg, the memory of the tunnel.
The golden egg thing is a little weird to me because the movie is so grounded in reality. And in the process of making this thing happen,
exactly.
Right? It's so, everything is so tangible that for this woman to have this prophetic metaphorical dream at the beginning of it, really throws you into a different space,
Oh, I was going to say before I forget, the Kubrick thing. Kubrick was so blown away by the movie. What Zach was saying is correct. He hired Joanna, what's her name? Joanna Ter Steeg. Yeah, I read the novel by Louis Begley. It's called Wartime Lies, which is a Holocaust novel. And he really spent like 2 or 3 years, Kubrick did, planning that movie in detail. And this was going to be her big breakthrough, or her English language breakthrough. And then Schindler's List happened, and he just dropped it. When I was at the Kubrick exhibit at LACMA in 2012, Los Angeles County Museum, there was actually a room. The whole museum was taken up by Kubrick movies, but there was a gallery devoted to the movies that he never made, or the movies he didn't get around to making. And there was a whole gallery about the film called Wartime Lies, and the interviews with her about how heartbroken she was.
I bet.
Anyway, but she's tremendous in it, and I'll make another comparison to Psycho. The fact that she is eliminated about 20 to 30 minutes into the film, like Janet Leigh is eliminated from Psycho about 30 minutes into the film, but the vacuum they leave behind, the memory they leave behind is completely indelible. And even though she's gone, she makes such an impression in the limited screen time she has, that you can almost understand Rex's desperation. But she becomes, she continues to be there in the movie, even when she's not there, just sort of like the Janet Leigh character.
You're also literally seeing her because of all those "Have you seen this woman?" posters for the rest of the movie.
Also, I want to hear what you have to say about the banality of evil, Swaff, because I think another thing that's so fascinating about this movie, maybe the most interesting thing about the movie of all, is the villain. His psychology, the fact that he has separated his life into sections where he can separate his family life, where he seems to have a pretty loving relationship with his wife and his 2 daughters. They love him. They give him birthday presents. He impresses them by rescuing a little drowning girl. And yet, there's this other side to him that only the audience is aware of. His acting was so good. Just the humor in his eyes when he's talking to his family, and it's just he just seems like it's such an intelligent performance. He doesn't exude menace, so
right.
He's more of just no one that you would obviously suspect. And I guess the banality of evil is the fact that, he's not living a banal life. I think they use that expression. It's like a go-to expression when someone is not acting like Hannibal Lecter, right. And he does seem to have, an average, normal, cosmopolitan bourgeois life. So let me hear. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, we get this term from Hannah Arendt, who observed the Nuremberg trials and the interviews with Adolf Eichmann. And I have not read Hannah Arendt's book, so maybe I'm the one who's confused about it. But my understanding is that what makes the evil of the Holocaust banal, according to Arendt, is that almost everybody can just claim that they were kind of just doing their job. They're clocking in, they were clocking out. Eichmann's just kind of making sure the trains to the death camp run on time, right? He's not himself perpetuating any sort of, vicious brutality. Well, he's perpetuating it, but he's not doing it, right? Like, he doesn't see himself as a violent person, and therefore nobody else sees him as a violent person. He is just kind of existing in this institutional. He's a bureaucrat, right? He's part of this institutional machine of violence, and I think that's pretty different from what we see in this movie, where we have a guy who's really good at acting like a normal person, but can commit heinous acts of brutality that we would categorize as flatly, evil in the normal sense, right? He's murdering people, bare hands, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a meaningful distinction of the idea that like we can often like perpetuate evil without necessarily us being the ones that are doing it, you know. But I understand why it makes sense to say, oh, this guy seems like such a normal guy, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like the ability to like hold two different worlds. So yeah, maybe that's not the correct like phrasing for it, but it's like you're at one end. Like the scene that really got me this time is like he's going through the whole process of like let me open the door, get in the car, I'm going to go around the car, I'm going to sit in the car, I'm going to put my arm around you and do the chloroform. And then he like goes through that process. The next scene is him picking up his daughter, and like he opens the door for his daughter, she gets in the car, he walks around, and he like playfully does that. And it's like,
oh god,
to me it's like it's kind of like Norman Bates at the end of Psycho, where it's just like where the lines bleed over for this guy, because it's there, she kind of is weirded out by it. She's like, Dad, what are you doing? But it seems more just like a dad, what are you doing? You're just kind of being weird. But the fact that you watch those in succession, you're just like, the lines are kind of bleeding over for him.
There's also that scene, I think it might be the first scene that we see with him and his family, where like his daughter screams at the spider that she sees in the drawer, and then like everybody at the table starts trying to compete to see how loud they can scream. And then like later we see him ask somebody, hey, did you hear any screaming last night? They're like, no. You can like see the gears turning in this guy's head. But, again, it's all very innocent conversations, right?
Right. Well, what information do you glean from that? Do you get the impression that the burial spots are right there in his front yard?
Yeah, I think he wants to choose a place where even if you could hear the screams from above ground, that no one nearby would be able to hear them.
I interpreted that the two, like at the very end of the movie, there's the wife clipping like the trees, and that's Rex and Saskia.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And do you think that he's going to continue killing, or do you think that this is a mathematical equation that he wanted to work out?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Part of me wonders if this is the only time he's done it in the past. It does seem like he has it worked out, and we see him like attempt it on many different women, but we don't actually see an act of violence until we see him grabbing Saskia, right?
And kind of going back to like the Vertigo comparison, it's it's like he's planned this one for this woman. I mean, he zeroes in on her, but as you can see, he's tried it many different times, and it's interesting that like why it is a woman. It doesn't seem, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe y'all picked up on something else, that there's like this kind of like sexual thing, or like there's something drawing him to a woman. The Rex one makes a lot more sense because it's kind of like, it's like tying up loose ends. It kind of feels like having it had to be that kind of completion point, but there doesn't seem to be anything that says like there's some repressed something in my life that I have to kill this woman. Well,
also think about it. It's also something very French and existential about this killer. You remember?
Yeah.
There's a scene when he's a teenager, he's about 12 years old, 13 or 14. And he's on the balcony of his apartment, and he suddenly looks over the balcony. He's about 2 stories above the street, and he thinks to himself, "There's no reason why I should jump off this balcony. I will probably break an arm or a leg or something." But
other than to embrace the absurd.
Right. But who's to say that I shouldn't? It's within my power to jump if I want to jump. I mean, he comes up with this whole reason, and he does jump, and he does break his arm, and he also tells Rex that he lost a finger or two in that accident. Apparently, Rex sees that he's missing a finger. I think that he goes about the plotting of the murder in a very similar fashion to his thought process on the balcony as a kid, saying there's no reason, this is the last thing that I should. Oh, and also think about when he rescues the kid in the lake, He said, why does my daughter think I'm a hero just because I jumped in the river to rescue this girl? Couldn't I just as well be a villain as a hero? He asked himself these hypothetical, very sort of existential questions. So in a way, the murder is almost like an extension of that thought process.
It's like Anton Chagrin. It's it's the coin flip.
Or Merceau in The Stranger, is I think that what you're maybe alluding to, Sam, of like a guy who commits an act of murder just because, it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of reason why to do it other than just to have freedom and to exert one's own agency upon the world, right?
The French movie, The Stranger.
Oh, is it good? I've heard some good things about it.
I did like it. Yeah, I recommend it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Beautiful black and white photography. This movie, The Vanishing, I don't think it gets old. I mean, I continue to watch it over the years, and I continue to introduce it to unsuspecting souls. I just love to see the shattering look of horror on my audience's face. I mean, that is such a shocking ending.
Mm-hmm.
But really, am I right? Was there any other way it could have ended?
I mean, you could have ended it in a way that's more gruesome, but I don't think they would have the same impact.
Yeah,
as the absolute powerlessness that
the entire time Rex was going through this obsession. He was even telling his lover, a woman who I feel really bad for, because
she's gorgeous. I felt so bad for her,
and she didn't stand a chance against the dead woman. But remember what he says to her over and over and over again. He says, I don't care whether. He says, I don't think Saskia is even alive any longer. All I want to do is know what happened to her, and I want to know what she experienced. Mm-hmm. He says that in interview after interview, and we see Raymond listening to that interview at home with his daughter sitting next to him, and that's exactly what he does. He wants to experience what Saskia experienced, and he does experience. He gets buried alive.
And it seems like Raymond, his motivation for doing what he does to Rex is different from his motivation for what he does to Saskia. Because it almost is like he feels as though he has been shown a sign of respect by Raymond, who appreciates something about the skill and the precision that he was able to pull this off with. He talks about how Raymond on the news talks about how this guy must be a great perfectionist to not have leave any trace of what has happened here. And so I think that it's kind of stroking Raymond's ego a little bit, and he kind of sees himself as this master, almost like in a lot of Vladimir Nabokov novels. There's villainous characters who they think of their own crimes and villainy as almost a sort of art form they're perfecting, right? And it seems like that's what how Raymond views.
Well, isn't that similar to Humbert and Lolita?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, there's a novel called Despair that talks about murder as a form of art as well. Yeah.
Well, do you remember also there's a scene that's easy to forget during their nighttime journey to the gas station where Raymond gets stopped by a highway patrolman on a motorcycle, and because he doesn't have a seatbelt on, of all things, but he has a dispensation for claustrophobia. He has a doctor's signature that he doesn't have to use his seatbelt because he gives him claustrophobia. That in turn gives us a clue to his form of murder against Saskia. I mean, what could be more claustrophobic than being buried alive?
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Also, like Hitchcock films, usually the villain, most of Hitchcock films, live or die by the charisma and the strength and the ominousness, of whoever is playing the villain. And this villain is one of the most unique cinematic villains I've ever encountered. And he's also very similar to Hitchcockian villains, because Hitchcockian villains are always hyper intelligent. if not professorial. And think about James Mason and North
Yeah.
Lane. I mean, they're always very, very urbane and civilized, and his whole point, Hitchcock, is that, it's the civilized people where you have to be really careful about the violence.
Yeah.
It pokes holes through civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie, The Vanishing, is so much like that. It takes place in a very placid surroundings, beautiful mountain. And of course, she's kidnapped in like the most unlikeliest of places, this hub of activity in the middle of the day. And as we're saying, it's all based on fate. It's all, their confrontation at the, in the gas station, how they meet, because of the sneeze that comes right before that. I mean, I think this movie does benefit from multiple viewings because there's so many little details that are easy to miss the first time you see it.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I wanted to say about it is we mentioned before the golden eye shot, the final shot of the movie. There's two other ones that stick with me. There's one where Raymond is zeroing in on Saskia, and the shot is like of his glasses, and you see her like in the reflection of his glasses. That's just fantastic. You have the very iconic shot of her at the end of the tunnel, just like, just that long dark tunnel with the light, and you can kind of just see at one point you can barely see, like, it's just like a figure. You just see like this kind of like almost stick figure. There's so many like just shots that stick with you over the course of this movie that I think are also just really stand out.
Yeah, on that note, I also really like the shot where Rex has gone to the French cafe and thinking he's going to meet Raymond. And you see Raymond standing on his balcony in the background. And, the camera doesn't draw attention to it until, there's kind of like a reverse shot a little bit later. But I think that just that image of like him being in the background in this like very busy scene is very, very affecting. And I also love just how much time we spend with the couple at the beginning before the titular vanishing happens. Like, you really get a sense of what their dynamic is in like a very like insular, private way. This is the kind of back and forth that happens between couples when nobody else is around, right? And you get to see some of the like red flags in their relationship, and also like the very cute and endearing ways in which they joke around with one another, and I think that just like getting to spend that kind of mundane romantic time with these people makes it so much more gut punching when one of them disappears.
It is.
Yeah, and I think also before we wrap this up, I think we really should also mention, I think, the character of Rex. We talk about how sociopathic Raymond is, and psychopathic and homicidal, whatever his various many hangups and problems are. But Rex is also mentally imbalanced. I mean, he is a broken, shattered person who has jettisoned almost everyone in his life, including the girlfriend.
I have no idea why that girlfriend is stuck around for as long as she has. I mean, he has like a poster of his like vanished ex like in front of his desk at home.
I mean, he almost seems like he's almost in danger of becoming like this weird type of hermit. The kids throw soccer balls at him when he's walking. And he's just shuffling along in his raincoat, and he really has lost it. And and the appearance of Raymond is really the answer to his dreams. He is giving him the answer that he's been searching for. Just great movie. Great movie.
Thank you for giving us a great movie to watch.
Please do me a favor, get on YouTube and watch the Hollywood version.
I might watch the last scene.
It's not that bad.
I don't want to watch the rest.
It's not that bad a Kiefer Sutherland performance. It's an early Sandra from Gravity, Sandra Bullock performance. Forget who plays Julie Haggerty. I mean, I can't remember, but it's bad. It's very bad. But to really appreciate its badness, you have to experience it.
Well, if you would like to allow us to watch good or bad movies, whatever your preference is, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/cinematary. Thank you to our patrons, Sam Shapiro, Cam, Ron Hayes, Teresa Marsathi, Rebecca O'Malley, Michael's aunt, all the people who are supporting the show. Our next episode, I think we have that one pretty locked down. We're going to be doing Lady Bird, which I'm surprised I think we've probably talked about it on the podcast before, but this will be the first time we actually get to sit down and talk about it more extensively.
I think it got a part 1 review back when it came out, but
yeah,
it is definitely grown.
Another movie with a character with a cast on her arm.
That's true. This one's real.
That's true. Until then, thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.